Yo, 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 it's your friend Dinner Dog, and right now I got the fire on the background. It's late. Maybe it's the same for you, right? I think I'm releasing this video during the day, so maybe not. But anyways, let's go on a bit of a trip. I want to talk about single-use items and their use and how to get value from them. So there's a lot of them in the game. So, get comfy, put on some jazz, grab a warm drink. It's becoming the fall, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. And let's go for a ride. The one thing I do want to consider before I move on, though, is that you'll notice that this is a 300 series video, and I struggled with if this was a 200 or 300, but I landed on 300 because as a new player, you're probably thinking about too many things to have the game sense to jam into your menu to use many of the single-use items that we're going to get value from in this video. So not as useful for you. You got to focus on other things. Feel free to leave the video and come back later, guys. I don't care about the YouTube algorithm; it doesn't matter. For seasoned players, even though there's a lot of knowledge you would already have, like having a good understanding of all these things work is great. There are some bangers in here. We're going to talk a lot about monster vials. We got Magic Missile is a surprise banger. So again, it's entertaining. Relax, grab a drink, enjoy the fire. Let's go have at it. Alrighty. So let's look at the scope, and then we're going to break down every single-use item by group. We're not going to go through every food, hence why some of them are grouped. And yeah, let's go into the scope. So we want to look at single-use items, using them one time, right? Because that's the majority of the time, unless you've got a duplicator, right? And it's cool because it changes the context with things, right? We're going to look at throwing stars first. Fantastic with a duplicator. Not really without a duplicator. So yeah, that's our scope. We're also going to assume item stat randomization. So essentially we're looking at it and saying, okay, you don't have a duplicator. You've got an inventory full of use items, because they're so plentiful in the game. And when can you get value from them? When could you use them? When shouldn't you? And do you even bother with it at all? So let's just dive right into this bad boy here. So before we move on, let's take a look at the structure, because every slide's going to look the same from here. So we're going to look at 3 key categories, or actually I guess 4. So we're going to look at the damage potential. So how much damage can this bad boy do? And then survivability is a bit subjective, but it's looking at like, okay, if you're in trouble, how much does this item help you? Obviously elixirs very much so. And the throwing star not so much, right? Unless you're dealing with one enemy that can be dealt with the throwing star immediately, and you're not generally going to be in that situation. And then how easy is it to actually use? And of course, with throwing stars, it's extremely easy to use them, right? Which is actually a huge benefit, right? If you're in a panic situation, you can reliably use the throwing star. You're gonna know what's gonna happen. It's gonna move very quickly, and it's gonna deal with whatever's in front of you, hopefully. And then usefulness as the game goes on, right? I think this is an important line chart here, just to say, okay, like how useful is it in key areas of the game? And when is it that you just you don't want to bother even menuing for it? And then if there's any other utility, so again with throwing stars, if you get the flame variant, it's double damage in some cases or half. And then when do we really want to use this bad boy? So with throwing stars, like a lot of items you're going to see in this video, you want to use it against top 10. If you're fighting top 10 and you only have your fists, you want to be pulling out a throwing star, right? It is way better to be doing 100 damage with one hit than it is to be doing effectively. I think his armor is 5, I think. So if you're hitting for 15, you're aiming for 10. You got to hit him 11 times. It's not fun. So use and abuse your stuff, right? If you have a throwing star, use it against top 10. Most of these things you want to use against top 10. And because this is a 300 series video, you can probably do the early library. And if not, you should look into that because it's very useful. So if you just have mist and you got to go fight doppelganger, or even if you've got double jump and mist, right? And you're gonna go fight lesser demon, right? He's a problem. He's dangerous, right? So but he doesn't have a ton of health as far as I remember, 500, 600 maybe. I'm probably wrong, but throwing out a throwing star or two, you take off 33% of his health, right? If he uses 2, it's pretty good. And the fight takes a long time as well, right? So the faster you dispatch Lesser Demon and avoid him going into a cycle of summoning things, the way better, right? So you can get tons of value from throwing stars like that. The otherwise, if you screw up Minotaur and Werewolf, like you could get use out of like really any use item, but in particular throwing stars, especially because they're so consistent. But yeah, otherwise there's not a lot of value from them here. Like even against all rocks, right? Like the time you'd probably want to use a throwing star against all rocks is to finish him off. And in most cases, you're trying to do that when he's doing like the Gatling fire from his mouth, and you can't pierce, so you're not likely to land a hit. You know, you could, but it's not highly likely, right? And then in the second castle, it's pretty useless to be using these. All right, so let's keep her going because this is gonna be a long one, right? So boomerangs, I actually think a bit better. The harder to use, but they have piercing, so they're guaranteed to take their flight path no matter how many enemies they hit, adding additional value, right? Like if you're, I don't know, you're in the library and you're having to deal with the books and they surround you, like this is gonna help you survive, right? The better against All Rocks Phase 2 because of piercing. Grand Falloon, they can hit a lot of the sections, especially if you want to use that before a Tetra Spirit to get to the core faster. All good stuff. Even against Shaft, like if you're at the end of it, like this thing pierces, and if Shaft's beating you up, you're probably on the ground anyways, right? So the arc of the boomerang could actually be very useful. But like, is it really going to finish him off? Probably not. He's got a good amount of health, but if you think you're at the tail end and you're desperate, toss out a boomerang if you've got, especially if you have nothing else to increase your survivability. Javelin's up next, a bit better. So Javelins not only pierce, they multi-hit. So it seemed like I couldn't reliably get multiple hits out of the boomerang on the same enemy. Like, and I was using the Gorgon as my example enemy because they're pretty like wide, right? So it gives a bit more of an opportunity to do multiple hits. So the Javelin pierces, it hit the Gorgon twice, so you're doing a bit more damage against like bigger enemies. And the survivability is a bit better too because you're like most times when you're in a bad situation, enemies are like in front or behind you, right? So if I can pierce reliably all the enemies in front of me, then it might be better than the boomerang, which might loop up and miss some of the enemies in front of me. And a bit easier to use just because it's an arc, right? Goes fairly straight. Better against all rocks. All that kind of stuff. So it's pretty much has the same use cases as Boomerang, but like maybe a bit better depending on if you need fire element or not. Okay, moving on from there. The Block Knife is really cool, but hard to use. So the Block Knife got 3 hits versus the Gorgon. So you know for some bosses you're gonna get a bit more value out of it, but yeah, and like even like it's a bit easier to hit because it's got that circular motion. Like it's harder to miss in one way, but another way, the projectile always remains on the same area of the camera. So if you move up and down, it'll still be at the same place as the camera, and you may not hit your target. It kind of works the same way as the like Iron Shield from that respect. So you might get a couple extra hits out of it, but yeah, at least you get reliable pierce, multi-hit, could be good better against all rocks. Maybe you get 2 out of Lesser Demon because it loops back around. But anyways, the Block Knife's fantastic. Again, with Duplicator, this thing's a beast, but we're not really talking about that here. So let's keep her on the go. Magic Missile, a surprising Magic Missile. Magic Missile can hit twice. I don't know like what causes it to hit twice, but I was reliably getting 2 hits out of Magic Missile. And so you may be thinking like why does that matter? Like if you're against Lesser Demon and Magic Missile hits for 100, you're hitting for 200 in one pop of an item, right? Like there's value there. Like I've used it against Karasamon to make the fight faster. Again, like if you've got a weapon, you're probably not reaching for Magic Missile, but if you're just on your fists, there's a lot of times where we're having the potential for 100+ damage is really useful, and surprisingly, Magic Missile just hits twice. So it's not doesn't mean Magic Missile is good, and certainly the double hit doesn't really do anything against top 10, and it's kind of hard to use it against top 10. But well, it's hard to really use it against anything. But surprisingly, like you shouldn't necessarily sleep on Magic Missile if you're dealing with early bosses and you need additional damage. Magic Missile could be the way to go. Like even like think about like if you've got like one or two of these against Hippogriff, right? Because Hippogriff has so much health, and maybe you didn't close the gap enough to get into fist range, like throw out a Magic Missile, right? At least do something. All right, TNT. The TNT is really interesting. Okay, so TNT is the single stick of Dynamite. So the way I've been thinking about this is the shorter name, less things. But TNT is actually really good. It's actually might be better than Dynamite. So when I was playing around with it, it seems like it hits more often. Like I got 5 hits out of the actual explosion, even though the explosion was smaller. And with Dynamite, I can only get 4. The only really so there's 2 drawbacks to TNT. One, obviously the blast radius is much smaller. It just creates a small pillar of flame, about the same size as Alucard, maybe a bit bigger. So like not the greatest. You got to throw it out there. It's got to kind of ignite, right? But it seems to hit an additional time, so it could have more use cases, especially if it does like a high damage. Obviously, being fire damage isn't the greatest, except if you're facing Akmadon. The thing that really sucks about TNT is like if you have something that hits for 100 damage, you want to use it against top 10. Like you're gonna kill him in 1 hit, you're gonna kill him in 2 hits. You're just saving time, right? Instead of having to like hit him like 11 times if you've got like nothing else, right? The problem with TNT is that as the stick is flying, that stick actually does damage. It does like 1 or 2 damage, which is really bad against Doppelganger because any damage is going to put him into hit recovery, where he's not going to take any more damage during that time. And so you hit him, he falls to the ground, the dynamite goes off, he avoids the whole thing. So TNT not as useful for Dop 10, but Lesser Demon, like All Rocks, obviously, if Grand Falloon's flying up, you might be able to get to him, like Akmadon, all good things. So tons of damage potential here, a little bit more, like a lot more than I thought it would. I thought the Dynamite had more, but when I was testing it with the Goron, it seemed like I was getting way more of the TNT, at least in terms of how many ticks of damage it does, depending on its damage roll. So the Dynamite, so a little less damage as you can see, but a little better for survivability. Like it's not going to help you in a pinch in most cases unless you can take a hit, just because it takes so long to get out there and explode, but it does deal, a pretty wide area of damage that might be enough to save you if, like, I don't know, you're surrounded by books in the library or other enemies, etc., right? Only thing is it may not ignite. There's like I don't know what the chance is, but I think the TNT always ignites, but the Dynamite doesn't always. And like, so you just throw it out there and you'll immediately know if it's not going to go off, because like the sparks that go on the wick aren't there, and you can't, as far as I know, you can't start them again. Like it just comes out, it's a dud. So that sucks. The makes the ease of use a bit harder, but like it also has a larger AoE, so I can't remember what did I say for this. Yeah, so I say it was a bit easier, but certainly stops its potential. And it seems to only hit 4 times. Now, the good news is that the stick doesn't do any damage, so you can use this reliably against Doppelganger 10. A lot easier to use it against him because of if you script the timing, like you still get such a wide area of damage. But yeah, it's a bit of a problem. More useful against like Shaft, but you're not going to use it against Dracula. Oh, I should have pointed out that when I call out Dracula, I mean Shaft as well, like in the Drac fight. So yeah, so that's the Dynamite. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, potentially less damage than the TNT, but such a wider area, you just hope it goes off, or you might be screwed. Iron Ball, so it's kind of in the same place as your spear, just that, or sorry, your javelin, except it's worse. So it does 1 hit with piercing. When I was playing around with it, it seems that like it'll do 1 hit to each enemy as long as the ball is moving, even if it's on the ground. So like you don't necessarily have to heave it into them. Like it can roll into them and it'll still do the damage, but it's still not good, right? Like again, like the library books at the Fairy Scroll, like there might be a use case for it there, just because like if the books are coming up off the ground, it might get a couple hits in, but you're probably not reaching for that, and it does blunt damage anyways, which the books resist, so that's not good. So like Dop 10 and early Lesser Demon are really your chances to use Iron Ball, and then you just want to forget about it. Monster Vials. Oh my god, Monster Vials. Yo, I should have like highlighted the damage potential of Monster Vials. So I didn't know if I wanted to do a video on Monster Vials, but they're very special. So let's talk about Monster Vials, friends. The value of the Monster Vial. So 1 and 3 are the skeleton, and number 1 is the merman, and number 3 is the skeleton. So the value is not from their projectile. If anything, the projectile is actually bad if you're using the duplicator, because it will limit the amount of things you can have on the screen. But yeah, the value is you throw the actual monster inside the hitbox of the enemy, and it ticks almost as fast, if not as fast, as the Alucard shield, which is phenomenal. I was getting 35 hits when I counted it with the merman. I actually think that Monster Vial 1 might be better, because it seems that the Monster Vial continued to do damage as the merman was disappearing, where it didn't seem to do that with the skeleton. But I think it also disappears faster, so it might just be a static thing. Someone had to look in the code for it. But for the purpose of this video, we're not doing that. So what you're getting out of this bad boy is like 30-ish hits potentially, if the monster is sitting within the enemy's hurt box. The downside of Monster Vial, but it's still incredible damage potential, is that the attack value you see on the screen in your menu doesn't matter at all. It's not a randomizer thing. I've tested it. It does the same in the vanilla game. The projectile and just existing in the same hitbox does just your strength, minus obviously the enemy's defense. But it does it so much, right? So if you're doing 10 damage 35 times, right? 350 damage, right? Wonderful. And probably more, right? So the higher your strength, like the more astronomical this gets. Ironically, it does take an attack potion, so it works. It will add 20 to every tick, right? So if you're thinking about 35, right? So 35 times 20 is a lot of that's 700 damage, right? Like, I'm probably screwing with the math, but that sounds to me like 700 damage. The wonderful, right? Just like you're gonna kill all rocks immediately with this. And you only need 1. So in terms of damage potential from using 1 item, this is probably the biggest potential you'll get in this entire list. And so like Ares is fantastic with it. Like Tooth of Vlad, like anything that's giving you strength. If you're using double Varder in this, like you will just melt Dracula. It's fantastic. So let's look into it a bit though. So survivability. So I think this item does give you survivability because of the sheer damage you'll do, right? Like you can confidently fight Aurochs phase 2 if you have just 1 Monster Vial significantly helps your chances in that fight. Because you can probably just Monster Vial and then spell him to death, right? Because the Monster Vial just does most of the work up front. The ease of use is kind of hard. Like if you miss, it's really painful. So you kind of got to get used to the range of getting Buddy in there. And like if it's not them standing on the enemy itself, you get like almost no value from this. Like even the projectile, like the flame projectile, actually isn't fire damage. So it doesn't do additional damage against like Akhenaten. You couldn't even use it for that, but it's very good for Akhenaten regardless. So let's look at the use cases though. Okay, so intro to library. Actually, I should have made that lower. There's not really much of a use case in the beginning of the game for Monster Vial 1 to 3. Actually, no, that's a lie, because you can use it against Lesser Demon very effectively. He has like, if he stands, like I know he goes to go in the air, but if he ends up standing still and you hit with this thing, you're probably going to KO him. You can absolutely use this against Minotaur and Werewolf. But the biggest case is Aurochs. So Aurochs, any boss that stands still, it's fantastic against Akhenaten. Akhenaten just walks into him and kind of gets stuck there. Unfortunately, like we did some testing, and Barkeep helped me out with a little bit, so shout out to Barkeep. But like it looks like he's kind of stun locked, but he's not. Like it kind of stops his advancement, which is good. But but like he can still grab you and hit you and stuff like that. So like you should use it against Akmadon, but do be warned that you can still get grabbed and all that stuff. And when we first did it, it seemed like it was like the fight was free, but unfortunately not. The and fantastic against Dracula, especially phase 2. So phase 1 is tough because he flies around with his claw stripes or swipes and stuff. But if you get or sorry, phase 1, but because I may have screwed that up there. But phase 2, he's just standing there, right? You can toss the like one of these in there, and you're gonna do significant damage. If you have a duplicator, oh my god, like this fight is free. But yeah, the Monster Vial 1 and 3, surprisingly very strong. And you should absolutely like it's a viable plan. If you're going into the second castle, you're in the shop, you don't have a great weapon, there's not really anything achievable in the shop, but there's cheap monster vials, you can just grab 5. Like it'll help you through a second cycle Drac for sure, or you could pop it early to try to push for 1 cycle, but you'll get a ton of value in the second cycle against Dracula. Okay, now Monster Vial 2, so let's just start with the good. If you did have a duplicator, Monster Vial 2 is fantastic. It homes in on the enemies. It ticks as much as like anything else, or as much as like the Monster Vial 1 and 2, and like almost Alucard shield speed. The problem with it is that like the bat's not going to stay in the hitbox, so like you're probably not going to help you survive anything. The damage potential is okay, but like using 1's not really going to be a big deal. I got 5 hits out of Shaft, but it has the same problem as the other ones, right? Like it's only doing your strength damage, and Shaft has a lot of defense, right? But like if you can get these bad boys cheap, it's really good against Dracula. Like the bats fly consistently within his hitbox, and because they don't have projectiles, I feel like you can get more of them on screen, so your damage potential may even be higher. But yeah, like by itself, if you only can have 1 of them, you want Monster Vial 1 or 3. If you have many of them, Monster Vial 2 can be very useful. You could even like use it like against like bees and throw things out there, and you might do a good amount of damage to his head and stuff if you just do the nimble strat of standing at the side. But yeah, like, Monster Vial 2 is a ton of potential with duplicator, but not much otherwise. Oh, but with all rocks though, like these bad boys pierce, so you could throw it at all rocks in a panic for sure. Second phase, and it potentially does more damage than some of the other options, and you'll get through the fireballs no problem. Okay, so let's keep moving around. So looking at the bomb items here, so pentagrams. Pentagrams pretty good. So like single hit, but everyone, right? Everything on the screen is gonna take damage, and it's immediate. So you're not using this to like win boss fights. You're using this to like clear the screen, right? Like you get surrounded by something. This is a survivability play, whereas most of the things above have been damage plays. So really good to survive. The only problem is, and this is the same with all bomb items in the current iteration of the randomizer, 1 bomb item every rando will randomly not have a hitbox. I think it's like I think it works where like there's probably some shenaniganry with it, trying to randomize damage with karma coins, but I could be wrong. I don't know the code, but yeah, like it consistently, it's good to have a bomb item in your inventory. You're not gonna buy a pentagram, but like if you find one, it's good. Same as like neutron bomb, which we'll cover next. But like they're just good to have to make you live, right? If you like, I don't know, you get into a problem in the clock tower in the first castle, right? Medusa heads are coming in. The harpies hit hard but are kind of glass cannons, and you get into a problem. Pop this, right? Everything becomes a non-issue at that point, at least in the moment. You're probably gonna kill 1 or 2 harpies, which are the real problem. You'll get the Medusa heads off your back. You'll live, right? It can save your run. It's absolutely a survivability play. The one thing that sucks is that it leaves visual noise on the screen, it shows up and then like the things break away, and that can be annoying. You could menu away and unequip or equip something else into your hand, and you'll have already done the damage, and then you'll be able to whatchamacallit, and then you'll be able to carry on. The visual noise will be gone. And it's actually something I should have mentioned with the monster vials, or really anything in this video, is that if you use a one-time use item, you can't like, let's say the monster vial, right? You can't throw out the monster vial and then like go into your inventory to grab something else. The monster vial will stop. You've got to have you can't replace the item in your hand until the one-time use item you've used has got its value from it. Or you've gotten the value you want from it. So you can't just like pour out like a million things at once. It'll just leave if you equip something else. And so the beauty with pentagrams is you can use this to your advantage if you don't want the visual noise. Because let's say you're in a really bad spot, you could panic, or you could hit the button, deal the damage, and then immediately menu for something else, and the visual noise will be gone. I don't know how impactful it is. Like there's not many situations where like you use a bomb and there's still like things like lying around, but there could be, and that could be potentially useful. Anyways, you don't want to use these things against Drac. It's only one hit. It's to survive. I have Aurochs as being useful because you can clear the screen of fireballs or the skulls or the bats, or you can just finish Aurochs off, right? Like, because it might hit multiple hitboxes. I haven't tested that. You could clear the bodies for a Tetra Spirit against Grand Falloon. Like bomb items have uses, and you should be happy to have them in your inventory and search for them in certain situations when you're in trouble. Neutron bomb, essentially the same, less visual noise, but the problem with neutron bomb is that it doesn't go off immediately. Like there's a few frames or whatever where you hit the button and then it actually does damage. Like it has a small wind up, which takes away from its survivability a little bit because of the delayed attack. But at the same time, you're not dealing with the visual noise afterwards, so you can like confidently just like go forward and like do whatever you need to do. But yeah, it's still single hit, so it's kind of the same use case as pentagrams. Power of Sire, though. Yo, pictures of Dad? This bad boy is great all the time. Yo, this thing hits 7 times to everything on the screen and sticks around. It comes with you if you move. Like, it's absolutely fantastic to have Power of Sire. This is the no issue. Hit the button. It does exactly what you want to do. Yes, there's some visual noise, but everything's dying, right? The only issue will be is if it doesn't have a hitbox, right? But otherwise, like, it has the potential to do huge amounts of damage. Even if it gets a low damage roll, you're hitting 7 times, right? So, like, fantastic against any boss in the game, where you need additional damage or you need to remove things. It's just chef's kiss the whole time, right? If you're even against like you probably are not going to use this against Dracula, but like against Shaft for sure, right? Like you get into some problems and you just need him dead. Like this thing can make it happen, especially if it has high damage. Because like you just need to get through Shaft's defense. That's the biggest thing, right? And the biggest problem with Shaft is letting him get started, right? So you just need to kill him quickly, throw the kitchen sink at him. If you don't have a high damaging weapon and you can't kill him before he starts throwing out like the fireballs and stuff like that, like consider just saying, okay, like what else do I have on my menu to do something? And like pictures of Dad are going to do that for you. Fantastic weapon. The only like just don't use it if you're photosensitive. Otherwise, like go for it. Fantastic. Karma coin, gross, but not completely useless. I tried for a long time to get value out of the karma coin. And it's really tough. So the good news is that if you get the lightning bolt, it does hit everything on screen. So it is a bomb. It's just a very delayed bomb. And if you get the healing, it's kind of a bomb. Like it's going to damage everything on screen, but it does very, very little. It does like 1 or 2 damage. It does so low damage, it doesn't clear the bodies from Grand Falloon every tick. And that's a problem. because that would have been amazing. You could throw it out there and say, okay, I'm either going to kill everything or I'm going to continuously remove the bodies, right? And I'm going to get healing. And by removing the bodies, Tetra Spirit is so much better in that fight because it's just gonna link into the core every time. But I didn't really get that use case out of it. The only cool thing with the healing is that once the healing is activated, you don't have to have the coin on the screen anymore. So you can move around a bit more, right? Like especially against like Beelzebub, right? Like you could like continuously jump up and hit him. You don't need to worry about the coin staying on the ground, right? What you do when you first use the coin, you have to have it activate first, which limits its use. So let's just like, so we know it's bad, right? And I'd say the only time you'd want to use a karma coin potentially is you have 0 healing in the beginning of the game. You don't have access to a sword. You don't have access to things that bleed. You don't have access to Soul Steal because your MP is too low, like all those things, right? But like you're so like unlikely to get in those situations. Grand Falloon could be useful. I think Beelzebub is a better use case because the flies are a bigger problem. I don't know how many hits it takes, but at least like you're getting tons of healing from it, and like you're in more danger against Beelzebub. And honestly, all rocks, right? Like if you get the bomb, okay, like maybe you can do 100 damage to all rocks and you finish him, right? And if it goes off, you might be able to close distance with clearing the fireballs at least for a moment, right? But if you get the healing, you're gonna be clearing all the fireballs all the time, right? And you're gonna like change the fight, your status in the fight immediately with all the healing you'd get. But again, like these are very like low use case kind of things that you got to be reaching real deep if you need a karma coin. But like again, like if you're gonna die against all rocks, right? Like do something, right? Like maybe you have a shield and you can stop the fire for a little bit, and like you just flip the coin, get some extra healing, maybe close the gap, right? It's possible, but you don't want to be relying on karma coin. You're pretty much toast at that point. Okay, strength and attack potions. Fantastic, 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 fantastic. Oh my god. So it seems like to me, I timed it to be working for about 70 seconds, and that works through loading zones and transitions. So that's really like we knew it worked against Dracula if you pop it through Shaft, but like you can even like you can go from like one area to another and you still get value from it. Not that that's often useful, but like the one use case like certainly does have that. So anytime you can add 20 damage to your weapon, it's great. The and maybe even more. We'll talk about that in a moment. But yeah, so damage potential is great. The more you can hit, the better. It's excellent for your fists, all that good stuff. I gave it some survivability because you're just doing so much more damage that like you're more likely to survive. Like you can confidently go into all rock, or you have more confidence going into all rocks with this weapon or with a strength or attack potion, right? You can kill Dracula and Shaft faster, right? It's great. Like I would use it anytime when I need to do more damage. The only time like in the like are you really gonna pop it in the second castle? Like you're gonna save it for Dracula, right? So it's a little less useful because most of the time in the second castle you're probably killing most bosses without a problem, maybe just not bees. But like with bees, like I don't know, the you're probably more likely to get more use out of a smart potion potentially against bees. But anyways, so let's look at these use cases. So really realistic at any boss. The attack potion is always going to give you 20 extra damage, no matter what. Every hit you're going to do is going to do 20 more damage, provided that you're breaking through their defense, right? The strength potion's interesting. So I haven't done a video on statistics yet, but every weapon has a hidden strength attribute, which is essentially the plus attack that it gives you. So if your strength is less than the +2 attack, then your strength bonus is halved, right? So sometimes you might use a strength potion and only get +10 because you got half of it, because even with the strength potion you don't meet the strength requirement. But if the +20 pushes you over the strength requirement, then you're getting +20 and the other half of your strength back, right? So like they're both good. You can use them both and potentially get +40 and beyond with strength requirements and stuff like that. So the reason why it's cool that it lasts for 70 seconds beyond transitions is because I think a really cool place to use this against is whatchamacallit, um, doppelganger 10 or even 40. But the thing with Dop 10, right, is that so you might be going from doing 15 to 35 damage, so you're gonna like kill him in like 4 hits instead of like 7 to 8, right? So you're gonna reduce the cycle or increase your survivability, and that strength or attack will follow you into the next area, which isn't the biggest deal, but I mean like the spearman you're gonna kill no problem, the archer you're gonna kill no problem, the axe knight may take a few extra hits, right? The big sword guy, right? Like it's like you get value from it. The or if you're not checking the outer wall relic right away and you go into the library, like you might be able to kill a few Durons with it. So definitely very useful, and yeah, you'll feel great with its strength or attack potion. Remember to, like, you should make a mental note with a lot of these things you pick up, but definitely strength or attack potion. You need to make a mental note and say, I have this, I need to use it at least at Dracula, if not other places. The smart potion, not as good. It's just that spells are so incredible, but they're also kind of not incredible in some areas, right? Like they will carry you through the beginning parts of the game, but otherwise they won't, right? So you see this like weird curve I've got here for it. So like I don't think you would ever really use the int potion, or sorry, the smart potion in the early game, except maybe for early lesser demon. Like that might be its only use case. Otherwise, the spell itself is good enough, even with your initial intelligence, to like melt anything you need to deal with, right? And through the first castle, like maybe like if you're gonna fight Hippogriff and you just have your fists, like popping this could absolutely give you a lot of value. The or even preparing for early Minotaur and Werewolf, things like that. The it really gives you value is Olrox. Like that's a fantastic area to use it in. The intelligence is very strong against Olrox, especially the Tetra Spirit or even Wing Smashes does a ton of damage to him. So if you're doing early Olrox, like the smart potion is very cool. Second castle a little bit. Like I thought, like if you're gonna go against the Akmadon, like and you're gonna use the Dark Inferno strat, that's a good use case for it potentially. You're gonna get like an extra I don't know how many ticks it does, probably like 4 or 5. And so you'd normally be getting like 100 damage out of that, but because you're doing fire damage, you'll be getting 40 out of it per tick, right? So it could be good from there. But yeah, like, and you're not going to use it against Dracula. So yeah, it's limited in scope, but it's still useful. Like if you get an early smart potion, like you're going to feel better if you need to go into Olrox. It'll give you a lot of value, or even Grand Falloon, because spells are really good against him too. Shield Potion's great, guys. You got to be using the Shield Potion. I've saved so many races through using the Shield Potion. It's not even funny. So I didn't write the description up here, but Shield Potion gives you plus 20 to your defense immediately. So any hit that is doing more than 20 damage will be reduced by 20 damage, and if it's less than 20 damage, it'll be reduced to 1. So in the early game especially, if you're in a problem, Shield Potion just saves you. There's not a lot of things in the beginning of the game that are going to do more than 20 damage, right? So if you've got 14 health, you can probably take 13 hits before you die if you use the Shield Potion. It's fantastic. Like it just extends your life bar beyond even its normal capacity in a lot of cases. It's fantastic against Olrox. Like you can beat Olrox with your fists in most cases easily with the Shield Potion. Especially if you have a couple other use items you can use if you don't have a weapon. I did it recently. I think it was I think it was in my semifinals race that I ended up losing, but I used it against Olrox and like I comfortably went to the fight and it went as good as I could have hoped. And I didn't have to worry about dying. I didn't have to save, so I saved time because I was so confident going into the fight. It's a banger, and you need to make a mental note when you have Shield Potion or when you're getting into a problem. Hit the start button, search what you have, and if you see a Shield Potion, like that's one of the first things you should be popping. Potions and elixirs, really cool. Yeah, so like it's pretty straightforward, but like it's usable all the time. You get iframes from it. Like it's the one item in the game where you're always going to get tons of value from it. Like if you're about to die, you get health, you get iframes, right? Now you don't get immediate health, and that's the problem with this bad boy, is that you need to wait until the number goes above your head for the healing to actually apply. So there is a gap between the iframes and the healing, but we'll talk about that later. So it's not guaranteed to save you, but like it's so fantastic. You can use it to break logic with spike, or with the well, theoretically with spike breaker, but specifically with silver ring, you can use it to break logic. Like potions and elixirs are chef's kiss, all right? The always good, always fantastic. Like have them, buy them, they're good. Uncurs anti-venom, same thing, except that they don't heal you, but they give you the same amount of iframes, so they're very good. They're like, and it's why they're so high in the first castles, because it's not just for the utility of like living, but also for breaking breaking logic and getting to early silver ring without spike breaker. So fantastic from there. If anything, even better than the next item, which we'll be talking about, which I believe is Mana Prism, because you can save your Mana Prism, right, and just use these things. They don't have a lot of value outside of becoming invulnerable. So like, you make sure that when you need invulnerability and you don't need health right away, that this is the first one you're using. Theoretically, removing poison is really helpful, especially in against Aquadon. Like it can save your life, but or bees. It's a bit harder to pull off in bees. You need to be able to get enough space, and sometimes you don't have it. But yeah, no, it's good. And I actually don't think I put it above. Hold on, let me just see if no, I didn't. So there's another use case here to combo with food. So we're going to talk about food, but food's actually really interesting. So in item stat randomization, you never know how much health you're going to get from food. But the cool thing with food is that when you touch the food, you're healed immediately. And I actually tested this to make sure it was immediate. I put the food right beside some spikes where I would have died if I hit the spikes. But the moment you run over food, you are healed. So if you're in a jam, you could pop an anti-venom or an uncurse, run over some food, and like the iframe should give you enough leeway to do that, and then you'll live, or at least like you'll get the healed, and hopefully the food heals you for enough to get through whatever problem you're having. So I do think it has a use case there. The otherwise, like curse as a status effect, even with low constitution, it doesn't really matter. Like it's not gonna matter enough for you to go into the menu. Like even in the library where it potentially is the biggest problem, because like there's like with a place where you'd get cursed, you also want to be able to attack things. Like by the time you get up to fairy scroll, it's already over. Like you don't even need a cape for it. So you don't care about Uncurse. So Uncurse is the one you want to use first because it has no value outside of providing you with iframes, and then anti-venom, and then you want to be using your potions and mana prisms, etc. So mana prism, fantastic. The like it's very high in the first castle. To use one, obviously if you have a duplicator, you're gonna go buck wild with these things, all right? And if you have bat, no problem, right? But we're not talking about that, all right? We're talking about you've got one mana prism. So mana prism's really cool in the first castle because you can break logic, right? And you get iframes. The refilling your MP in the first castle can be good, but like you're probably saving it for the second castle. Like I think the biggest use case for it is probably going to creature directly if you are going to make that decision. The with bat, or even to a lesser extent with wolf, but otherwise the only other time I've really used an MP refill with a mana prism without a duplicator has been in the caverns, like going from the save point above Scylla all the way to the Merman statue check and then back again. Like I've used it there before when I felt like I was behind or I had like multiple mana prisms, because let's say I had like 2 or 3 and I thought, okay, I'm gonna get like 20 seconds back by using this. The like that was useful, but otherwise it's not the greatest. Again, like some usefulness through the rest of the game because it gives you iframes, but the place you really want it is hopefully just to give your MP back because it's amazing. We don't need to spend time on Mana Prism. You guys know it's great. Heart Refresh though, we need to spend. Wait, what happened to my chart? Hold on. This was supposed to be a beastly chart. Oh, I didn't copy this as a image. No, my beastly chart. Hold on, we need to fix this. So guys, let me tell you. Oh, here it is. We're going to tell you right now about Heart Refresh. All right, heart refresh is fantastic. You are going to live because you have a heart refresh, right? If you didn't see the last video or one of the previous videos, I think it was the one on checking early silver ring. The yeah, that was a 200 level video, I think. But anyways, the long story short, the heart refresh gives you iframes. It also bends time. All right. So when you use a potion to get healing, the healing takes like 2 seconds or whatever to take effect, right? That time will continue to tick down during the time that the heart refresh pauses the game. So it warps reality for Alucard. So as far as Alucard's concerned, he gets healed immediately because everything around him is stopped, right? And including himself. But for you, you just wait a little bit longer and you get it. So if you are about to die and you have a potion or some other thing that heals you like that, like a potion, high potion, elixir, and then you use the heart refresh immediately after, you will not die from the next hit as long as the potion or whatever gives you enough health. I've used this in races and survived because of it. It is fantastic. All right, you literally bend time. The um, the the other use case for it is you can literally create unlimited iframes with heart refresh, because by the time the heart refresh iframes end, you can use the potion again because the potion cooldown time has been utilized through the heart refresh. So you can literally become invincible if you have enough of these. Now, of course, we're not talking about having a duplicator, but you should be thinking, if you've got money and there are cheap heart refreshes in the shop and you don't have a way to get through Spikebreaker or Silver Ring, or you just want some additional safety, you should buy 5 or 6 of these. No problem. Like, these are extremely useful. They will save your life. And like you see, like the chart, it just goes up. Like it's very high from the rest of the game. The only reason it's not really useful in the introduction is because you're not likely to get into a situation where just a simple potion will not be enough, right? Like you're usually not surrounded very hard going into the library. Like usually you can back off and then take the time to heal, and then eventually you also just like have enough MP for soul steal and that kind of stuff. But if you do find yourself in a situation, go for it. But throughout the rest of the first castle, you can get into trouble. Olrox, second castle, Dracula. It's fantastic. You live and survive. It is fantastic. And you need to use this. All right, and like, I've done the Silver Ring video. If you haven't seen that, go for it. But I'm gonna do another video on Blind Bat, because literally in the tournament I used heart refreshes and a duplicator to check Spikebreaker at a logic, and it was fantastic. Resist fire. So we're going to talk about resist fire a bit because it's the only resist item that's actually useful. The rest of them are trash. So it halves fire damage, and against all rocks that is money. Against anything else, it's useless. But having a fire or resist fire is très bien. Especially early after all rocks, you can just disregard it. Unless like, I don't know, Shaft is about to like shoot you in the face or something like that, but generally it's not a big problem. If anything, the resist lightning or thunder or whatever it is might be more useful, which we're going to essentially call trash, because I don't think I've ever seen anyone have enough of a brain to break that out against Shaft. And even if it did, like, you're only having the damage, right? Like, it's, I don't know. Like, I find the use case not that great, but against early all rocks, it's absolutely great because fire does a lot of damage and you don't have a lot of life. So yeah, resist fire, good times, you want to use it. Food. So yeah, we talked about it, but food heals immediately. You don't know how much you'll be healed in item stat randomization, but the ability to be healed immediately is very cool, especially if you combine it with something that will give you iframes, like an Uncurs or even a potion, right? Like, use the potion, grab the food, the potion becomes your or like the healing from the potion becomes your insurance policy. But this gives you a bit more time to potentially avoid getting like killed if you're in such immediate danger. So yeah, food has its uses. So don't sleep on it. Like, if you're about to die, you should use it and utilize its immediate health implications. From there, Peanut is like, yeah, like, I didn't want to put Peanut in the trash category, but it's pretty trash, right? Like, it's the same as food, except you have to catch it with your mouth. So you have to use the item, which throws it in the air. You then have to stand immediately underneath it, and you need to be holding up. And if you are just in the right place where the peanut hits your mouth, more or less, it will provide the healing, which is randomized along with other food items. So the biggest problem with this, other than the skill check, is you may not have enough clearance to use it. If it hits the ceiling, it's over. It will not bounce back down. It's just done. So, like, it's pretty. You got to be like maybe the intro section if you get like into a bad time and you can't get to a save room. You don't have you don't have anything else. Like you can't soul steal because you don't have enough MP. Like all those kind of things, right? But like, yeah, it's bad. Peanuts are bad. Meal tickets are like worse. the Yeah, meal tickets are just bad. You guys, you know it. You have to have so much time for a meal ticket to get value from it. Like outside of like the obvious trolls, it's just a bad time. Meal tickets suck. Okay, life apple, fantastic. I'm gonna try to start wrapping this bad boy up, but like your survivability is guaranteed. You just need to make sure you actually have the fairy scroll, or sorry, the fairy card or the sprite card. And have this. So like it's kind of hard to actually get that scenario on the go, and you're gonna waste so much time trying to check these things. Like I personally, I never go for a life apple strat. I don't think I've used like life apple like once in like the past year. Um, yeah, it sucks having to like go through familiars and stuff like that, and then actually make sure you have the life apple, and then have the mind to put them both on together. It can be useful, but I don't personally find it that much. But yeah, it restores all your MP as well as your life. Gives you iframes. It doesn't restore your status or your poison, so be careful. Still, if you get killed by like bees or Achmadon, that you're still gonna have that as a problem. Library card, fantastic. I need to do a video on it, but the thing with library card that kind of gets overshadowed is if you're about to die, just library card. The only situation where that doesn't help you is if you're in the air, because you need to be on the ground to use the library card. But otherwise, it's real good. You'll see I put like as like the best throughout the game, except for like Aurochs or Drak, because like you don't want to use this to survive, but if you need to, you can. It's like you don't want to bounce from Aurochs and have to come back. But again, like it's better than dying, especially if you don't have a save. And theoretically, you could use it against Dracula, but yeah, like if you're gonna die against Dracula, like you should just save beforehand. And arguably that's a better call, but if you're just gonna like flat out have to forfeit, then use the library card if you can't get out of that situation. But yeah, it's pretty last ditch. It's good. Obviously, getting to the library is fantastic. I need to do a separate video on that. Toadstool? Wait, why did this do it? Oh, these because these aren't. No, this is wrong. Boo. Hold on. Sorry. Let's do this. I'm sorry. I'm in Excel right now. It's linked to an Excel chart. That's why that was happening. No, Toadstool is bad. Toadstool is gross. These should be images. I just didn't paste them as images. Anyway, so Toadstool, negative damage potential. Makes your survivability worse. It's technically easier to use than food because you will never actually use this in a situation where you would like food. You're going to use this in one place and one place only. I did look it up though and test it. You can get healed for 1 HP if you're using the poison circlet. Or maybe it's more like it's just randomly that it was assigned 1 HP. But yeah, like that's a very niche use case. You'll see the chart though, how or the bar line, how I have some usefulness in the intro and library. That's mainly because there's been a bunch of theory crafting around purposely poisoning yourself and then getting hit by a charged up Duron to get to fairy card faster through getting big tossed. I should do a video on that, but it's fairly new, and I haven't seen anyone do it in a race yet. But that's a use case. Now you don't need a Toadstool to do that because the Venus Weed or whatever it is in the library can also poison you. But it's a bit safer because you can control when you get poisoned, and I think it's a bit faster too. So like theoretically you could do that, but it's very niche. So there's some value for the Toadstool. Don't even talk to me about like using it to get to the Coliseum early. No one's doing that, all right? Like we've all joked about it, but no one's ever done it in a race. At least this use case has been theory crafted to be good, and I think people will try it, but you don't need the Toadstool to do it. Yeah, so that's pretty much everything except for the trash. So every other resist potion, aside from resist fire, is trash. Maybe thunder if you've got a gargantuan brain and you're going to die against shaft, but probably not. Luck potions are terrible. Like, luck as a stat is really bad to begin with. Like, you would never pop a luck potion, and hammer is just useless. So you can avoid those, but considering how many items are in the game, there really isn't a lot of trash, right? Like, there's a lot of things that you can at least get some value from, right? And the more you know that and study that, or like at least think about its application, especially when you're in danger, you'll be a better player for it. Again, like the amount of races I've won just because I paused the game, I was in a bad situation, and I said, "What the hell is going on in the menu?" Look at what we just accomplished over the 55 minutes here. There's so much value you can get from things. You just need to apply it in the right situation and realize what situation you're in. So hit the pause button, or if you're gargantuan brain, hit select so you can still see what's going on the screen, and then go into the pause menu. It'll cost you a couple frames to do that. You have an answer. There's so many answers in this game. And we pick these items up just randomly or get them through drops all the time. You will find an answer. And if you're in the 300 series, you fucking better get an answer, all right? Like you are here to race. So figure it out, all right? So that's it for me. Yeah. Let me know where I've screwed up in this bad boy, because there was a lot of work that went into this. So like there's probably also lots of opportunities for mistakes. I'll pin obviously any comments that are useful and beneficial, or I'll put any corrections in the description. But otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed yourself. You're relaxed by the fire tonight. And yeah, hopefully you've got some additional education to help you out in times of need in the randomizer. So beyond that, cheers. We'll see you soon. Have a good night.